So I don't really put my face on here because it's a little awkward for me. So be nice. Um, I just wanted to talk about the election. I'm not surprised that Trump won, although I am disappointed. At the end of the day, I don't think Kamala really represented anything or gave a reason for voters to come out and vote. And you might disagree with me, but here are the facts. Well, one of the things that Democrats were very proud of is the fact that they raised $1 billion. And that money isn't really coming from people like you and I. It's coming from corporations that want a return on investment. In most countries where there's democracy, real democracy, this is illegal because you're literally bribing politicians. And again, the companies that made up this 1 billion, they themselves are looking for a return on investment. The way bribery manifests in corporate campaign financing is that, for example, pharmaceutical companies will give money to campaigns, and they will make sure that the politicians that they're funding make sure that the government can't, or insurance companies can't negotiate drug prices, because they make a huge profit off keeping prices high. The same thing with health insurance, to have different ways for them to scheme out of covering you for your health. Well, a famous one is actually TurboTax, for example. You know, the government knows exactly how much you owe them in terms of taxes every single year, but TurboTax makes it so that they don't facilitate this process, essentially keeping you tied to this complex system of, you know, trying to hire tax professionals and relying on TurboTax services. One of the most direct examples of this is defense contractors. Raytheon, who's a defense contractor, their whole motive is to create profit for their shareholders. And if I read correctly, Raytheon is the largest corporate campaign financier for Kamala, right? They also, financed Trump, but it was Kamala's biggest financier. And when the voting base who wanted to end the genocide in Gaza wanted to stop supporting Israel and bombing and killing children, her position was to still support Israel no matter the evidence. And I think, and this is obvious because, again, her financiers have already made these decisions for her. And this is just one of many decisions that that she's getting paid to do nothing about. After $1 billion of corporations choosing what to do for you, you don't really have anything to offer Americans. And I think that's a huge reason why she lost. Because of the legalization of corporate campaign financing of elections, we always get this pre-approved list of corporate-friendly, pre-approved politicians. That's why we always have to choose the lesser of two evils, and this is why nothing ever gets fixed or done, in spite of the fact that maybe progressive positions such as strengthening unions or raising minimum wage or paid family leave. This is why none of those things get done, because although they are very, very popular, there is no profit motive for corporations. And at the end of the day, politicians that take money from corporations for their campaigns are beholden to those corporations and not the voter. I would argue that we don't, because of this, because of the bribery of politicians, I would argue the fact that we don't even live in a democracy, because our representatives don't even represent us. One of the things that's really annoying me is that a lot of liberals here on social media are just sticking their head in the sand, and they're saying here, Trump won because of racism, sexism, and if we're just gonna do that, then we're setting ourselves up to lose again in 2028, and we're not going to learn from the mistakes. So the biggest issue that I saw in this election was economics, right? I have a lot of friends that they went to university and they can't afford to make a living. They can't afford housing. It's very difficult. They can't afford a mortgage. Jobs are being sent to overseas. There's the threat of automation, inflation. And Trump was actually, although he isn't going to address any of these issues, to be frank, he at least lent a sympathizing ear. And it was a big part of his rallies, which did ignite his voting bloc. Kamala, on the other hand, she was very much protected from the media. She would give very scripted answers which came across as fake. and safe. And whenever she would go off the cuff, she would get terrible answers. You know, one of the simple ones is like the one that resonates more is like on The View. They asked her, you know, how her campaign was going to be different and her policy positions were going to be different than Biden, who is very unpopular, and she just couldn't do it. You know, it was a very easy question, and she couldn't do it. I remember when Tim Walz was picked as her VP pick, her polling went through the roof because he's a very progressive candidate, and we projected that on Kamala. But behind the scenes, you know, she had to reassure her the donors of her campaign, corporations, billionaires, that she was not an agent for change, and thus muted a lot of the energy in the Democratic voting base.